Hello there, painting friends! This week, I invite you all to my backyard for some plein air painting. The first part of plein air painting is deciding what you are going to paint. There are many inspiring, beautiful little flowers and plants in my backyard, so I walked around and looked for a nice spot that I felt like painting today. Eventually I found a spot with a patch of daffodil flowers and some other beautiful little purple flowers. If you are new to my videos, let me introduce myself. My name is Stoof. I am a fine artist in the southwestern Pennsylvania area. I post acrylic and oil painting tutorials on this channel. If you like what you see here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more painting tutorials like this one. Alright guys, I'm thinking these daffodils and get some of those complementary purple flowers in the background for this plein air painting. It's going to be on a square 6" by 6" canvas here, and I'm hoping to complete this in less than 1 hour. Hi Zorro! Hello cutie boy! After I decided what I would like to paint, it was then time to set up my plein air painting easel. I have a pochade box that I ordered from Amazon. I will have a link for this in the description under this video if you're interested. Another handy tool for plein air painting is using a viewfinder. That's this little gray square you see that I turned into a necklace, so I always have it when I need it for plein air painting. And this is what I look through. I set the ratio of the dimensions to be the same as my canvas size. So in this example, I set it just to a full square. And I look through the viewfinder to determine where my subject matter is going to be placed on the canvas. I begin to sketch out the concept on the canvas using thin downed neutral oil paint. I thin my paint down with citrus solvents. Using these thin brush strokes for the sketch allows me to paint over these sketch lines without it becoming too muddy later on. Alright, so I sketched out in general where I would like to place my daffodils in the painting, and now that I have it sketched out, I know where the general borders will be, so now I can go ahead and just fill in all of the colors. I'm starting to fill in the colors with a number 6 flat tip brush, and I'm beginning with the shadowy neutral section surrounding the daffodils, that little area in between the bunches of flowers that are in shadow. I'm mixing in umber, a few of my different blues, a little bit of red, some ochre, just to mute down the color vibrancy and keep things like a shadowy neutral tone. With that same brush, I'm now blending in more of my Windsor green and a little bit of magenta into the mix to neutralize that green a bit, but I'm starting to fill in a base color for the area with the little violet flowers behind the daffodils in that upper right. I'm starting with just this base color, and I'll start to add some more variation to that color and add more details later. As I'm blocking in this color, I am mixing in a bit more umber, a bit more sap green, a bit more ultramarine blue in different sections to keep it from all being a flat, even block of color. I want to have a little more variation in there. I'm being careful to leave a space where the yellow daffodil flowers will be on the canvas. I don't want to cover up those sections because this is a plein air painting and yellow is a translucent color. I do not want to overlay that on top of a green neutral color or it's going to turn very muddy. So I'm leaving those sections open for now, and I will go back in and block in those colors for the flowers right onto that washed canvas rather than having to try to place those flowers over the wet oil paint. Here I'm blocking in some neutral browns for the dead leaves and grasses in the foreground. Now I'm switching to my number 4 flat tip brush, and I'm gonna block in the general little colors and shapes for the daffodil flowers. And the tricky part about this plein air painting is the sun is moving through trees, pine trees behind you here, and the lighting conditions keep changing. So I'm gonna just kind of pick something. I think I would like the flowers in the foreground to be a little bit more lit, and then have just patches of light and shadow in the background. For the daffodil flowers that are illuminated in the sunlight, I'm using titanium white with cadmium yellow, a tiny dash of magenta, and lemon yellow. For the daffodils that are in shadow, I'm mixing in a little bit of dioxazine purple, ultramarine blue, burnt umber, things like that to give us the shadowy version of a yellow. Okay, so now I know where the daffodil flowers are going to be. Next, I'm going to start to work on the stalks in between the flowers, and then I'm going to start bouncing around a little bit, adding detail to different parts of the painting. Here, I'm beginning to paint the lower part of each stalk of grass or the stem for the flowers. I'm using cadmium yellow with a little bit of sap green, mixing in a couple other little colors in there. It's a warmer spring green at the base of these stalks, and then it turns into more of a cool, muted green at the top of each grass blade or stalk or stem, and even like bits of blue are in there. So you can't see it quite as well on camera, but in real life you can really see the difference between the warm and cool greens in each bunch of daffodils. I'm continuing to make these up and down motions with the brush to get these nice stems for the daffodil bunches. Adding some highlights and warmer greens to the bunch of flowers that I would like to be illuminated with sunlight, and keeping those cooler, more neutral gray greens for the bunches in the background that are a bit cooler in shadow. Alright, now I'm going to start to add the little violet flowers that are behind and a little bit scattered in front of the daffodils and some of the grasses. I'm also going to play around with light and shadow for those background elements. Here I'm just touching up the edges of those flower petals to give them a more defined structure. After a few other minor touch-ups, I concluded the plein air portion of this painting. I took the painting back to my studio after that base layer dried, and I continued to refine some details. I wanted to further push those daffodils in the background. I wanted to adjust the brushstroke size for the little violet flowers to separate the daffodils from those little violets even more, and I wanted to draw even more attention to those daffodils in the foreground. So with about 30 minutes of refining some details and boosting some shadows, sharpening up some edges, toning down some values, we have a completed painting. Alright guys, that concludes my plein air painting video for painting some springtime daffodils in my backyard. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a wonderful day and happy painting!